Hey there, Internet. Arcana here. And I wanted to start off the new year by talking a little bit about my weight loss journey because it has been a long journey for me. And I thought I'd like to share my experiences with everybody. Weight loss and weight loss surgery is kind of a big issue, kind of a hot button issue too. So I'd like to just share with you all my experiences. Before I get into it, I want to apologize because I have my puppy in the room and he's throwing stuff around and being a complete jerk. So if you hear any extraneous noise, that's him playing with a toy. I have 4 dogs in total, so they're, lots of fun. Anyways, I'd also like to do this in 2 parts. So the first part's going to be a little bit about me and what I've been through. And the second part, I'd like to open it up to you guys. Questions, anything, comments. If you have questions about dieting or what kind of foods to eat post weight loss surgery, any recipes, I've got a lot of those. Questions about the surgery itself. Feel free to write in and I will answer them for you on a video. So anyways, my childhood was totally normal. I was fairly thin actually. I did a lot of sports, tennis, basketball, softball, and I pretty much ate what I was given by my mom. My issue is that when I hit high school, I had the freedom to choose what I wanted, and those choices weren't always the greatest. I really liked our candy line in high school. It was fabulous. And the dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets were really good too. So I started gaining weight. And then it started ballooning pretty quickly to where my stomach actually looked pregnant. And I would get questions whether or not I was pregnant. And no, I was not in fact pregnant. But we'll get into that in a few minutes. So I tried losing weight for prom my senior year. And I worked 4 days a week. I watched my diet and I worked with a personal trainer one of those days. And I did this for months. And I really didn't lose anything. And I got really, really upset and depressed. But that got pushed aside when I went off to college. Now, when you go to college, you always hear about the freshman 15. Well, talk about the freshman 100 for me. I went into a circle of depression. I ate because I was depressed, and I was depressed because I ate. In college, it's pretty tough. Working on papers and tests and getting to class, and it's very stressful, so you're not exactly watching what you eat anyways. And I broke up with a boyfriend, so that didn't help. So at that point I was about 315 pounds from the 220 I was before prom. So I got home, and a few years later I went to the emergency room, and they found out that I had about a basketball-sized cyst on my ovary, along with some tumors on the other side, but that's neither here nor there. So when that got removed, I got really excited. I thought, hey, this is the simple solution. This was the crux of all my problems. I can lose weight now. And for a little while, I did. And then, like most people do, I just sort of tapered off my schedule. And I stopped going to Weight Watchers. And started gaining more weight. And from then on, I kind of went into a bit of a hermit mode. I worked at a construction company, and I would pretty much sit in model homes all day, and I would sit and eat. And my life pretty much became Second Life. And that was my entire social life. And if you don't know what Second Life is, it's kind of like an MMORPG, except without the storyline, and it's all open world. So that was my entire life, was right there on Second Life. I pretty much shut everybody out. Family, friends, I sat at home most of my days until 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd sleep, get up, go to work, and keep right back on the internet. And it was not good. And I kept eating and eating and eating and anything and everything, sweet, salty things. And it got worse. And I just got more depressed. And then I met my other ex. And I got really happy because he really liked me for me, and he didn't really see my weight at all. He saw my personality. And that made me really happy. But the more we were together, the more I can see now that he perpetuated my bad eating habits because he probably had a food addiction too. And it's probably partially my fault that he ate as bad as I did because I introduced him to a lot of things. So, yeah. Oh well, it happens, I guess. Now, I'm going to get into my dad for a minute. My dad was very anti-weight loss surgery. I had spoken to him about it a couple times, and my insurance would not pay for weight loss surgery. And he wouldn't either because his aunt had died from complications from having her stomach stapled, God, back in the 70s or 80s when, weight loss surgery was back in its infancy. After he died in early 2011, I kind of realized that I wanted to get my life in order, that this whole big thing just wasn't working for me. But it took me a little while to figure it out. And I finally made the decision to go in for weight loss surgery in December of 2011. I'm going to show you a picture of what I looked like in 2011. There we go. That was me. Hard to believe, I know. I look pretty different. At that point, I was 403 pounds. The absolute top of where I was. And on a 5'4" frame, that doesn't look so good. So in 2012, I was scheduled for surgery, and I had that. And what I had was the duodenal switch, which is more extreme than the Roux-en-Y, which is kind of the standard. What happens is they remove majority of your stomach, and then they cut your stomach off at the duodenum, which is just where the intestine meets the end of the stomach. And they pull that down a few feet of your intestines and then reattach it. So essentially what you are is malabsorptive. You don't absorb as much of the fat, as much of the calories, and certainly as much as of the nutrients. And the recovery sucked, frankly. It was worth it in the end. I will tell you this. It was worth it, but it was not fun. For somebody who had very few comorbidities, I was on the verge of diabetes, and I had pretty bad sleep apnea. But I really didn't have anything too bad, which I was lucky. But it wasn't fun. I had to eat protein shakes for like 3 weeks after. And boy, let me tell you, you get very, very sick of nothing but liquid. But there's a point to all that. They don't want you to screw up your stomach and, overfill it or anything like that too early. You could bust stitches, whatnot. So you really have to change your eating habits after the surgery. So I finally got into soft food, and I finally, was able to go home. And let me tell you something that happened. You need to avoid sweets. I had one single starburst after that surgery, and I ended up with dumping syndrome, which is kind of like a really crappy version of food poisoning, where everything hurts. You're vomiting, you feel like someone's punching you in the gut, and you have potty issues as well. And another thing that changed, of course, is I had to start taking a crap ton of vitamins. Multivitamin, D3, calcium, B12, iron. I take magnesium just because. And, vitamin C. I've got a whole list of them that I've got the bottles lined up. I have to take them every day. Because if you don't, because your body doesn't absorb those nutrients, you could get really sick, especially over the long run. If you have issues with calcium, you could get bone density deficiencies. I mean, stuff can be real bad. So anyways, nowadays, obviously, I'm doing really well. I am about 165, and that's kind of where I've been sitting. I just had surgery to have my skin removed on my stomach, a little bit on my back, and I had my breasts completely reconstructed. And that was a lot of fun. I had a circumferential abdominoplasty, which means they literally cut around your entire body and pull all the skin down. So, yeah. What I currently do for my food and my exercise, I eat a lot of protein. I eat upwards of 120 grams of protein a day if I can manage it. I cannot have any gluten. I'm a little iffy on that. Some things are worse than others. I can't have white pasta, white bread. Certain things are better than others. And I definitely have to have low sugar. Now, I started off trying the sugar-free stuff, but that actually made my stomach hurt like I had eaten an entire loaf of Schwabel's white bread. So we stopped that. And now for my little snack, I occasionally have small pieces of candy. I've got sweet tarts. I eat maybe like 3 or 4 of these and I'm fine. The sugars are, it's 12 sugars for 13 pieces, so it's about 1 sugar a piece. So it's just a whole different mentality eating than what it used to be. I have to be more mindful. And that's another thing I'd like to get into, the mental aspect. You change a lot after the surgery, especially when you start losing weight. You don't use food as a crutch anymore, which is what I did. They teach you ways to cope with different issues that you have, like when you're stressed, or when you're bored, or when you're angry. How to redirect that into doing something that's more productive instead of going and grabbing a piece of food or a bag of chips, or heck, a pint of ice cream. And because you don't use the food as a crutch anymore, you become more in touch with your feelings. I feel like I'm a lot more aware of myself, aware of other people, and more sensitive to other people, I think, too. And I never really felt like that before because I had buried all that with food. Another thing that changes is as you lose weight, your mental state changes too. Not just, learning to redirect your food and, feeling more than you did before. It's, you gain so much more confidence. I have leaps and bounds more confidence than I ever have, ever in my entire life. Because, I don't know. Because I feel good about myself for once. Because I'm happy for now. Because I feel like I'm a person and I can stand up for myself. And like I'm not going to take any crap from anybody. And it's funny how the little things make you happy now. Things that you couldn't do before that you can do now. And it's so stupid. Just being able to cross a parking lot at like a jog makes me happy. Just not being out of breath walking up the stairs. It's crazy. It feels so good, and it's so much fun, fitting in a regular restroom stall and not having to go to the handicapped one because you can't fit in the other ones. Or being able to buckle a seat belt on a plane and not have the seatbelt extender, which is really embarrassing to ask for. To be able to fit on roller coasters and not have to wonder or worry that when you get up there, they're gonna make you leave because the seatbelt won't fit on you. It's just a whole different way of being, and I'm so glad that I did it. So much has changed for me since I've done it. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to questions. Anything. I will answer literally anything if you have questions about recipes, like I said. If you have questions about relationships changing, they do, definitely. I will answer anything. I am an open book. Just comment below. When I get enough, I will go ahead and answer them in a video for you. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate all of you. Bye-bye.